This week on Dear Veronica, what's the lifespan of your cell phone? Does anybody really know? Welcome back to Dear Veronica. I'm your host, Veronica Belmont. There was a fantastic episode of Freakonomics Radio recently about the value of handwritten notes versus typing. I'm talking about the kinds of notes we take at work or in school, not like thank you notes. Different discussion topic. But there's actually research that shows that we retain information better when we write using pen and paper. Too bad my handwriting is garbage, and since I'm a lefty, I smudge everything into illegible crap anyhow. So, let's talk about note-taking apps. Mike asks on Twitter, people are obsessed with note apps, e.g. Evernote and the like. Am I missing something? Should I be taking better notes? It's true, there are tons of note-taking apps out there on the market. From Evernote, which gives you more options like adding images or links to your notes, to more bare-bones apps like Simple Note, which I'm a huge fan of. There's an app for everyone, but what is the value of note-taking? For me, I use Simple Note to write almost everything from drafting emails, brainstorming projects, writing scripts, taking notes for calls, etc. I just like having it in one searchable and cloud-backed up place. It syncs automatically with notational velocity. Then, I'm able to paste it into a more specialized app later, like my email client or prompter software. But why take notes? Well, we're not perfect human machines, unfortunately, so we forget a lot. For me, note-taking allows me to empty my brain of fleeting thoughts to make sure I can call back on them later. The big issue is to not concern yourself with how your notes look. For a long time, I thought I was a bad note-taker, so I just didn't do it as often. Now, I just don't care. As long as the thought is on my Simple Note somewhere, it can be beneficial to me later. Now, a good way to start taking notes for you could be the old pen and paper trick. Keep a notebook by your bed and jot down some thoughts before you go to sleep. It'll help clear your brain out before you pass out, so you'll stress less and remember what you need to get done the next day. Try it out. All right, up next we have a great question from our friend DJ Ross Beck on Twitter. He asks, Dear Veronica, how long does the typical smartphone last? Is there a metric somewhere outlining phone life / whose lasts longest? Great question. Of course, my mind immediately went to how long would it take for the cell phone to decompose? Answer, many hundreds of years. But I have a feeling that's not what you're asking. To get some help on the subject, let's toss it over to Nicole Lee.
Hey Veronica, thanks for the question. As for how long a typical phone lasts, it depends on whether you're talking about the battery life or the lifespan of the phone. Obviously, the bigger the phone's battery is, the longer the phone will last. So if a phone's battery is bigger than, let's say, 3,000 milliamps per hour, it will last pretty much a whole day. One of the longest lasting phones that we recently reviewed is the Moto X Play. And according to our review, which is senior editor Aaron Supers reviewed it, he said that he used the phone regular use for longer than 48 hours, which is pretty good for a smartphone. The iPhone 6s Plus has to be a little bit better than the iPhone 6s because it has a bigger battery as well. In terms of the lifespan of a phone, that's a little bit of a trickier question. If you're going for a budget phone, the ones that are only about $100 or so, maybe $50 at Walmart or something like that, those phones typically have a shorter lifespan because the specs, the hardware specs on those phones don't always match up to the latest and greatest software configuration. 2.5 years is about right in terms of how long you keep using the same phone without you running into crashing problems and things like that. Okay, DJ Rosbeck, I hope that helps. Back to you, Veronica.
Good to know. I feel like most of us never find that out because we're all too busy lusting over the next big thing. Nerds these days, am I right? And finally today, a housekeeping question from Rohan. Dear Veronica, is Twitter the only way to send in our questions? I ask because you don't mention the email / Facebook option anymore. Good observation. Yes, I started cutting back on email questions because they tended to be a bit too long. I was worried they were kind of slowing down the pace of the show since I had to take the time to read them out loud. And Facebook wasn't getting the same traction as Twitter was. With Twitter, I'm able to track the hashtag using an if this then that recipe, which automatically pulls the tweets into a Google Sheet that I can pull questions from. So it just makes the whole process a lot easier and more automated. But if you really want to email me, I'm still checking those. Veronica@engadget.com. Of course, using the hashtag DearVeronica will always get you noticed as well. Keep sending those questions in, and thanks everyone. I'll see you next time.